There's a massive shortage in chip manufacturing and is causing massive disruption in the global supply chain. Back in September, GM announced that it would have to close down 8 manufacturing plants in North America for 2 weeks just because of the chip shortage. Now the government wants to get involved and provide $50 billion to solve the problem. But should they? And is this the best use of $50 billion? The decisions made by your government impact you and other people around the world. Are they making the right decisions? And if you could vote on these decisions, how would you vote? If you're new to my channel, One Direct Democracy is a movement for upgrading the global democratic system by taking power away from the politicians and putting it in the hands of the people by using direct democracy. It will also eliminate left and right-wing politics. I've created the technology and a plan for how to make it work. If you want more information, check the links in the description. For each episode, I'll pick an important issue, I'll outline the problem, talk about the solutions, and then you can decide how you would vote. In this case, we're talking about the global chip shortage. Okay, if you're just looking for another talking head that isn't actually interested in doing anything, you're in the wrong place. If you want to be part of the solution, let's get into it. So why do we have a global chip shortage? Well, the short answer is COVID-19. It resulted in a lot of people working from home, and that increased the demand for electronics, and that increased the demand for chips. So the demand far exceeds the supply. And in fact, right now, the time between ordering and receiving semiconductors is 22 weeks. Now, why is this problem difficult to solve? Well, because it costs billions of dollars and takes many years to build a chip manufacturing plant. Let's listen to a soundbite from this interview with Secretary Raimondo.
Given what you just talked about, how the United States was, used to make its own semiconductor chips, was the birthplace of them, now doesn't seem to make any of them. What is the Biden administration doing to solve the problems you just outlined?
Yeah, and I do want to be clear. We certainly make a lot of chips in America. Intel is a huge company. We just don't make what's called the leading edge or bleeding edge, whatever word you want to use to describe the most sophisticated chips, which, by the way, is what is needed in the new technology, like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, database initiatives, a lot of healthcare. That is a lot of in weapons and military operations. That's what's required.
She starts by making an important point about the fact that the United States does manufacture chips, but it does not manufacture the most advanced chips. Okay, so what are they planning to do in the short term?
But in any event, so I think what the president has charged us with doing is doing everything possible to solve the immediate crisis, which is to say, increasing transparency in the supply chain. I have held numerous convenings with CEOs of the consuming companies, like the car companies and computer companies, and also the producing suppliers, and saying, okay, guys, share the data with each other. There's no room today for hoarding or stockpiling or providing a demand signal that isn't fair. And on the supplier side, there's no room for you holding back. Right now, we need you full throttle and doing everything you can to supply American consumers. So we're doing all of that to solve the immediate crisis.
Okay, what are they planning to do in the long term?
Long term, we need to make more chips in America, and that is going to require money to incentivize companies to open new manufacturing facilities in America. And that is, the president has a plan. It's a $52 billion investment called the CHIPS Act. It got through the Senate. It's sitting and has been sitting for months in the House, and the House of Representatives has to pass that plan to send the money over here to the Department of Commerce so we can get into the business of building more manufacturing operations in America. It really is that simple.
There's another complication that we need to consider, and that's the concentration of risk. According to this article from Visual Capitalist, China, Taiwan, and South Korea combine for approximately 87% of the global foundry market. Foundry just means chip manufacturing plant. Here's how the numbers break down. TSMC, short for Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, is by far the world's largest chip manufacturer. It's also the 6th most valuable company in the world, with a market cap of over $600 billion, and supplies chips to the likes of Apple, Intel, and Nvidia. That's a very high concentration of global manufacturing capability in one place. Now the next question though is, are they making the advanced chips or the less advanced chips? The article goes on to say that TSMC and Samsung are the only companies capable of producing today's most advanced 5nm chips that go into iPhones. However, the Taiwanese company is one step ahead and is set to produce its 3nm chips in 2022, offering the most advanced foundry technology. Okay, so this is the summary of the concentration risk. On a country level, Taiwan accounts for 63% of the foundry market, followed by South Korea with 18%. In both countries, the majority of the market share belongs to a single company. Okay, so now let's talk about what Joe Biden wants to do about this. According to this article from CNET, President Joe Biden called on Congress to pass the CHIPS Act, a law that would provide chip makers with $52 billion in subsidies to advance semiconductor manufacturing in the United States, during his State of the Union speech on Tuesday. Okay, so you're probably thinking, well, what are the US chip manufacturers doing about this? Biden lauded Intel chief executive Pat Gelsinger, who last month announced a $20 billion investment for 2 new chip fabrication facilities, or fabs, that the company would build just west of Columbus, Ohio. Okay, so Intel has an existing plan to spend $20 billion to expand manufacturing capacity inside the United States. The article goes on to say, Intel plans to spend $100 billion to build the Ohio mega fab over the next decade, with an eventual total of 8 fabs, but the speed of that investment will depend on the US subsidy. So what does he mean by the speed of the investment will depend on the US subsidy? Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who's here tonight, told me that they're ready to increase their investment from $20 billion to $100 billion. That would be one of the biggest investments in manufacturing in American history, Biden said. And all they're waiting for is for you to pass this bill. Send it to my desk, I'll sign it. So that's the summary of the chip shortage situation. So is this issue important enough to justify spending $52 billion of taxpayer money? And if you could vote on it directly, would you vote in favor of this bill or against it? Let me know how you would vote and let me know what you think in the comments. The reality is that we've reached a point in time in our evolution where representative democracy no longer serves the will of the people. And the problems that made direct democracy impractical have been solved. That's why I created One Direct Democracy. It's a movement for upgrading the global democratic system by taking the power away from politicians, putting it in the hands of the people, by using direct democracy. I've created the technology and a plan for how to make this work. We also don't have to convince any politicians or any powerful people to do anything to make this happen. We have the power to make it happen on our own. We just have to make a decision to do it. If you're new to all of this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, check the other videos on my channel and check the links in the description. Direct democracy is the purest form of democracy. Representative democracy is an outdated, blunt instrument.